Hey, good morning and good afternoon to everybody. Morning if you're in the US, it's 9 AM just gone, and 2 PM here in London. And welcome to another live stream with the Mohawk Forex scalping team, True Scalping. And today we're going to be trying a new news event. Obviously, we're looking just now here at the US-30. We've literally just scalped our usual 2 PM, as I call it, move. Well, we always get this little move on the US-30, 30 minutes before the NY Open. But either way, doesn't matter. Just won $25 there. Nice, easy trade. Something we spotted, something that happens every single day. As you can see, US-30 has been on a drop, a double M. Tried to make a double top, didn't quite do it since first couple of hours of London, after a nice bull run early on in London session. Now it's dropped. And obviously today in focus, the main thing is Fed Chairman Powell. He's going to be doing a speech, and they're going to be doing the official acceptance of him back as a second term as the head of the Fed. Shouldn't be any disruption. Should be a nice smooth transition. But obviously that's going to cause some movement in the market, gold and US-30, we hope. Should be pretty good. So we're going to watch out for that. And also, as you can see on our economic calendar, we're going to be trading this economic optimism report, the IBD TIPP. Which is based on a survey of about 1,000 American citizens on what their thoughts are on the economic optimism for the US in the next 6 months. So it's not one I've traded before. It's the usual kind of thing. A figure above 50 indicates optimism, below is pessimistic. It's the whole idea behind it. And obviously, as you can see there, last month was 48.4, and they're expected to be around about the same 48.3. So you might not do anything, but I just thought it's worth a go. I love trading different news events, and I want to do more different medium and high impact news events this year and teach people how to trade it, because obviously the more news events you trade, you're trading a trigger on the market if you find the right ones. Not every news event affects the market. Some affect it in the reverse, as we know. This one is going to be literally 30 minutes after the NY Open, which is in about 20 minutes time. So we're just going to do some normal analysis and trade the NY Open, and then we'll check in on this Fed George speech. We'll trade the economic optimism report, and then we'll sit back and watch for a little bit Fed Chairman Powell speak and see what that does, and see if we can scalp in and out on gold and US-30. And then tonight, for those of you around, we'll be trading the API crude oil stock change news, which we do every single week, right on the close, right in the kind of the dead zone between end of New York and the start of the Aussie session. So yeah, so pretty good. Been a quiet week so far. Not been too many opportunities. There's been regular kind of scalping in and out. Nothing major, because there's been no major news events really. Everyone's been waiting for this Chairman Powell inauguration, re-election, whatever you want to call it. And then tomorrow we have got inflation reports for China, which we'll look at. The German DAX is some wholesale news, and inflation is the big one. The CPI inflation rate for the US is the big one. Again, everyone's waiting for. And then we've got oil. So tomorrow's a bit more of a busier day for us. But we'll see what we can scalp today. And obviously, looking at the US-30, like I said, we just caught a little cheeky sell on the 2 PM move, as I call it. And now we're going to be waiting for the open and see. I mean, looking at this, we're on kind of a heavy support zone. RSI is coming out of the zone, so we should be looking to take some kind of buys on the open, at least for 50 to 100 points before the news. That's the plan anyway. So we'll be watching for buys on US-30, all being well. But obviously, if this key level here is broken and we're going down to our heavy support, we will take sells. like I say, you know, we're look at the pattern. We had a nice W, as you can see here, kind of an M pattern here, second leg, which has been the sell-off. Could have got in here multiple times on the RSI. There's been some hidden and divergence and bullish, which hasn't come off. The news has been, it's all to do with anticipation of this Fed speak. This is why it's going to be interesting to see what this economic optimism does for us as well. Bloomberg, give us an update where we need to be at the moment.
Exclusive conversation with Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester from New York. That's coming up next, live on Bloomberg TV and radio. This is the countdown to the open.
This is the countdown to the open. So Nikkei ended up being on a negative, nearly 1% there, you can see. Hang Seng, China flat. And we'll be looking tonight to trade some Asian session as well. That was the European. Again, fairly bullish all round really. Picked up as we saw. Took the US-30 with it. And then US-30, obviously it's got its own news separate to Europe, and that's why you're seeing that 0.45 drop in the Dow. SP 500, yeah, it's around about break, and the NAS has obviously pulled back, had a massive run in the last 10-15 minutes of US yesterday and came back. Let's have a look at the chart. So US-30, you can see there, gold. So have a quick look at gold. Zoom out on gold. We had a TP hit earlier on there on gold, which is really good. Again, gold is in a sell-off at the moment, and actually we've got a re-entry for a sell here coming. RSI is 25.
Gold's selling off ahead of that Fed speech.
Yeah. But who knows what the speech is going to be? I mean,
I get it, but you also know that there's not much good coming out of the Fed right now, which is it's bad for the economy and good for gold.
It's been hawkish though. The report was like hawkish, saying all good things, but it just depends on the interest rates when they're going to start doing it. But yeah, the gold look pushing down. Might be able to get a little scalping on this. Go. If that's going to push down anymore. That support level. Like I said, this is all to do with the report. That's what's interesting to see what this economic optimism report does as well. Quite interesting. Look at NAS as well. Everything's down, like you say. NAS exactly the same. Just post that into the group. But again, that's why I'm looking to take some buys on the on the open. Maybe more sells on gold, maybe buys on NAS and US-30. I've traded NAS for a little bit. I'm just going to load that up. There we go.
On twos, much more up 5 basis points on a 2-year yield. From New York City, a special welcome to our TV and radio audience worldwide. Bloomberg's Michael McKee alongside us. Happy to say, joining us both, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester. President Mester, always fantastic to catch up with you. You know the setup right now. We've got Deutsche Bank, Citi, JP Morgan, Goldman, all calling for rate hikes in March. Some of your colleagues doing the same.
Yeah.
What obstacles are left, if any, for making a move that soon?
Well, you know, the economy is on a really good track. The inflation numbers are high. It looks now that inflation is more persistent.
We should pull back on US-30. Gold still selling, pushing down. It's going to hit that support. NAS might do the same. Look at that dropping nicely. RSI 16. Hitting some support now as well. And it's on the neutral zone, so watch out for that.
And of course, there's uncertainty around that, but if it does,
gold, what a surprise! What price is it? I could have told you, 1800. Our favorite
every time.
Pandemic, and you know, I just want to point out that even when we make that first rate move, whenever it is, that's not really policy tightening.
And if gold's going to break through, go back down to 1801.
I think that the case is really strong to begin to wind back some of that accommodation.
Got 15 minutes to go to the open. But yeah, this news is quite, reads quite, I did some research on it last night. It's fairly a big one actually, it's quite a big one. I've just not really taken any notice of it before, so...
How far do you think you need to go?
Well, I can tell you in that December...
The Investors Business Daily.
Penciled in for this year and
IBD.
over the trajectory. But I also want to
Oh
point out
yeah,
that...
I mean, if this is higher than 50, then we could be looking at buys. And if it's below 48, we'll be looking at sells.
How many rate increases are needed. There's still a lot of uncertainty around the
It's
outlook.
news.
There's uncertainty about how the pandemic plays out. As we've seen each new variant, the economy
Our Senate
has
hearing,
really
yeah,
navigated
Biden speech,
in terms of the economic
Rivian,
outlook.
stocks,
But right now, we have to
oil
say
news later on, of course.
we need to recalibrate our
Rivian should be
stance
through the roof.
because inflation is well above where we need it to be.
Second term, look, he's got his prepared remarks. He's determined not to let inflation become entrenched.
Do I think we'll see labor force participation
Yeah, right.
somewhat after we get beyond the
Yeah.
pandemic? Of course.
Yeah, okay.
This is a
I'll
day
believe
ahead.
that when I see
It's a
it.
day ahead of the consumer, the CPI.
So I think we're in a good place to move
Highest in 40 years, look,
and,
6.8. Forecast is 7. So that's going to be interesting to see.
Growth and employment going forward.
Well, speaking of moving policy, the Fed's statement of principle
Biden,
says that
yeah,
the
and stocks to set higher.
funds rate should be the primary tool, but
Omicron continues to test China, yes, because there's trying to be a zero tolerance, but it's not working. Hong Kong shutting down now. Closed airports to another 150 countries. And then oil, like I say, we've got the API. This has been a good win for us.
Yeah,
$80 a barrel.
We have a little bit of a playbook from the last time, but I think this time is
So
different. in the
yeah,
sense
this is
that
all this news is good to
basically have a
study.
much larger balance sheet than we did because we had to do those asset
Put into the
purchases
group.
at the start of the pandemic because of financial market conditions being the disruption of the financial markets. We really needed to make sure that the financial markets continued.
It's going to be interesting to see because he's talking and the Fed uses a bit later. So the fact he's talking at 3, well, 10 a.m. NY time. Be interesting to see what happens to the markets. That's why, but there's no other news around. It's going to probably should get on gold for that, really. See if US-30 stays where it is. It'll be perfect. Open.
Considering that, but I do think that it's good to look at sort of the policy tool, the interest rate as our main tool, but to take into account.
2 p.m. move's great though. Like 9 a.m. your time or New York time, sorry, and always.
So you've got 2 Fed speeches today. I don't know if you saw that. You got George speaking in 11 minutes, and then you got Powell speaking in 40.
Yeah. Just as
We've got crude oil tonight, this evening.
Yeah, so just said, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, there was that move, look, like I say. There, and it was a nice sell, bang.
We just don't know kind of what
Always some kind of nice little move.
That's kind of what we do always when we're doing monetary policy. We
$25 on that.
Think about, we take an action, then we look.
But yeah, that's my thoughts. NY open.
We're very, looking at the current.
If it goes the opposite way, obviously we sell instead. But
the outlook, and then we take into account the risk around that outlook, and then we recalibrate our policy. And we're going to do that this time, I'm sure.
set that.
President Messer, just to get some more clarity on that, I think it's important. Do you see balance sheet reduction as something that runs passively in the background alongside decisions you make separately on rate hikes, or is it something?
See if we can get a buy on that.
Mike and I are trying to consider,
NAS.
trying to work out whether balance sheet reduction.
You're sitting on a really good level of support for a buy on gold.
It's really good.
It's a false break of neutral resistance.
Or something that you think about together alongside interest rate hikes.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm going to answer your
I think it might dip a bit more on the open and then pull back. Dipped into that 25. It breaks this and we could take a sell. See what happens on here. NAS as well. NAS is breaking down. Look at that. That's still 13. It's not pulling back yet. Again, could be a buy on the open. That could be a continuation. We'll watch that. On these, you remember to go both ways.
Sped that up, and that may happen over this period as we.
That's fact.
But in general, my approach would be come up with what we think is the right plan for that balance.
How's the weather in London?
Happening, and then
Bad.
use the policy tool
Bad.
and remain
It's always bad.
Yeah, what do you expect? It's rainy, it's dark, it's dull. I think it was still, I was saying once last time, I think December we had 27 hours of sunshine for the whole month. That was it. That's how dark it was. And today there's been no... I just come back from the Hilton and the gym. Oh my God, you know, it's just, yeah, rain, dark, cold. It's a good day to be indoors trading.
Gold spiking up now.
That are very unexpected. So again, at this point,
See if we can break back above the neutral resistance.
that we take actions to bring inflation down, given the environment.
I sit at home in the recliner in Texas today.
Oh, nice.
Got the charts on the big screen.
Oh, bro. Serious today then.
I plan on getting up and trading London, but I had a little too much Jameson last night.
Same as me. I missed it as well. I didn't get up in time. I'm celebrating my birthday early, so yeah.
That's right, it is coming up.
Birthday's Friday, yeah. So yeah, I went out with a couple of mates last night, and then I woke up about 20 minutes after London Open. I was like, oh, well, there you go. I did still got a couple of little trades away, I think I did. Yeah, I got like 3 or 4 wins. Actually, I did. What did I do? I did a US-30 one as well somehow.
Well,
No, I didn't. No.
See how the economy develops.
Oh, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 trades on DAX this morning, and then just done that one on US-30 now.
Is that you've waited too long, you're behind the curve, you're going to have to move too far too fast, and as the phrase goes, you'll break something, maybe send the economy...
Is gold going to bounce off this level and drop again?
That won't happen given
I'd like to see a solid break of that neutral resistance, then we're going back up, probably 1810.
So it all depends on this news and what he's going to say.
We had a very, very long expansion, right? A historically long expansion. So this is a pandemic environment, new things. We're going to look at the data. We're going to make sure we're focused on meeting both of our goals of maximum employment and inflation. It seems clear to me now that inflation is too high and labor markets are strong, and we need to take action. And as the economy moves, we will take appropriate action to make sure that we're doing what we can to keep the economy on a positive trajectory. And that means taking actions to bring inflation down without, right, harming the positive trajectory of the economy. And that's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about it. That will be a challenge for us, but that's what we do. That's what we're charged to do, and that's what we'll be doing.
Let me shift gears a little bit.
Flattened out right there at that neutral resistance.
Massachusetts Senator to the Fed Chairman Jay Powell today. We've seen
could be the makings of a middle leg.
Resign. We're now seeing the Vice Chairman resign early. Does the Fed have an ethics problem?
Finally got MT4 on the Mac.
I think what happened was there was illumination on things that
without having to use parallels or
they were technically
Windows sidecar.
But it was the appearance issue. The chair and the Fed are taking actions to strengthen the rules upon which we have to abide, and I think that is addressing the situation. I do not believe there's an ethics issue at the Federal Reserve.
President Mester, final question from us. Every cycle for the past few cycles, the Fed funds rate has peaked at a lower level. Do you think the dynamics are now in place with this economy?
3, 4 minutes to go.
Is there reason to think that might not be the case this time?
Well, I mean, partly that's what we've just been talking about.
See if gold has a dip.
Go in order to
recalibrate
policy to meet our 2 mandated goals. But I also want to point out that the factors that held down inflation over the last cycle, globalization, technological change, demographics, they're probably still in play in the economy. It's just that they've been swamped by the supply chain issues, the high accommodation that's in the markets right now, labor market issues that keep people out of the labor market. So all of those things, right, are now front and center. Eventually, we'll probably get back to a low interest rate environment.
Loretta Mester, the Cleveland Fed president, thank you very much for being with Mike McKee and myself this morning. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Mike McKee, it's a difficult spot for this Federal Reserve right now. As we know, Mike, there's been a massive pivot over the last few months, and that's set to
That's a
continue.
10 pip
for the
range
next 12.
candle.
Yeah, they
Jesus.
changed their framework. They decided to run the economy hot, risk inflation to get unemployment down. Unemployment's down. We have inflation. Does the framework work? Can they get out of this?
Do they need tighter financial conditions?
Yeah, it's going to drop. Look, told you it's going to drop.
They keep talking about removing accommodation. Do you think this
Get a
is
sell in on that, hopefully, and yeah, see if we can touch this on the buy.
And given where inflation is,
Not
it
going
could
to
be
be 189. That'll
It certainly
do.
appears like it doesn't to me.
Oh
Demand
yeah,
is
look at
very
NAS
strong.
as well. NAS
The question
might be good for a little.
they have
Going to
to try
cut out the
figure
neutral
out
resistance. Might get 100.
when the fiscal stimulus money is gone,
See-
when
see
people
what we
used
can
up
do.
their savings, and we don't have as many people
Not yet though.
working,
2 minutes to go.
are we still going to have a lot of demand in the economy, or are things going to start to slow down?
And Mike, the clarity that we need, we got a little bit, but not a lot. The balance sheet reduction, how it complements, supports, runs in the background maybe around interest rates. Do you think they've figured that out yet?
I don't think they have a complete answer yet, but the idea is that they maybe can help control the yield curve, the long end, by using the balance sheet and use them in tandem. How exactly they do that remains to be seen.
Mike McKee, thank you, sir. Looking forward to more coverage from Mike as we count you down to testimony from Chairman Powell at the top of the hour. His reconfirmation hearing just around the corner. Your opening bell just around the corner too. From New York City, with futures unchanged for our audience worldwide, this is Bloomberg.
$27 minutes to go.
I'm here at the Delhi airport, and behind me you can see SpiceJet 737 MAX aircraft. SpiceJet Chairman Ajay Singh earlier today said that Boeing is going to compensate SpiceJet.
Let's see what we can get. See which way things are going to go.
Celebration happening at the Gwalior airport. As you can see, they've literally rolled down the red carpet for SpiceJet Chairman.
Look everybody,
There are balloons. There
watch
are
US-30.
cars. This is a big deal for SpiceJet because it is the only Indian operator of Boeing 737 MAX planes currently.
Gold gonna come back down to
I don't think so. Maybe. Bounced off at 1802.
Yep. Now, see if we get anything on that. That. And profit.
This is a market that over the past few weeks has made it clear it wants to go higher. It got a little spooked by the idea that geopolitical tensions are rising.
That's was spiking around then. It was $100 up then.
23 seconds away from the opening bell in New York. Good morning to you. Price action set up as follows. On the equity market, we're down just 2 on the S&P, negative 0.04%. On the Nasdaq, where all the price action has been over the last 24 hours. On the Nasdaq yesterday, negative 2.7%.
Look at that, beautiful. Hit both ways on the US-30, perfect. As I said it would go both ways.
Going into CPI tomorrow, 7-handle widely expected. 177.28, yields higher by about a basis point. Yields higher on the.
That's what happens when you don't get the news. You see, you get that.
On tens.
Perfect. Now we're selling.
Now on crude, up by more than $1, advancing 1.6% to 79.46. Around the opening bell on the S&P, we are basically unchanged. Top of the pile. Energy and financials.
RSI's crossed. We've got the buy, now we're looking for a sell on that. Gold, exactly the same look. Spiked down, spiked up. It's going to push up, we'll take a buy if it crosses the average line here. NAS spiked up and then dropped down again. So again, gone back down again, we're looking for sales. So it's fine.
They're not talking about a restrictive stance. That's not just semantics, not just words. What does that mean to you, Tiffany?
Yeah, well, I think that the focus here from Fed officials is basically that policy accommodation is still extraordinary, extraordinarily easy. So
spike up on gold, beautiful.
Getting that accommodation back to neutral, getting monetary policy
going back up above the neutral resistance this time.
Hit that breakout zone.
Restrictive territory, i.e., above neutral yet, because I think as President Mester suggested, they want to understand how the economy evolves and reacts to their actions. So they're going to continue, they're going to continue along this path of removing accommodation.
A nice W on gold. So I'll take another buy if it breaks. If it breaks the average line, I'm going to go in for another buy.
Where is neutral in this economy?
Yeah, and I think that
this is why
open. You want to kind of, see, you want to move policy.
I got one at the bottom, I'm riding that to the top.
Because there's a lot of uncertainty around that.
This hits 25, room for a sell. There you go, look at that. RSI drop, look at that, beautiful.
Beautiful, crossed over the average.
There's a lot of uncertainty around
gold.
The change in the economy as a result of this pandemic. So we've seen higher levels of productivity and investment in the United States, but of course there's also higher levels of savings out there, at least in private hands, household balance sheets. So it's really unclear, kind of where that neutral level is. And as a result of that, we've said that we think the terminal rate this cycle might even be similar to where it was our past cycle, or, it could even be lower because, frankly, stuff happens once the Fed starts to remove accommodation.
Rob Walner, this is why this is so difficult at the moment. You asked that question. It sounds simple. It's so hard to answer. I've heard people say it could be lower, it could
break
be
that
higher, it could be
baseline.
Where is it?
So this is the point, Jonathan. It's very hard to know. For all the points that Tiffany laid out, it's hard to know exactly where it is. What the Fed is supposed to be doing is gently trying to find that place. And if they started a while ago on that journey, they could probably take that in a gradual fashion and look to find that place. What I'm a little bit afraid of is that President Mester did tell us that the labor market is tight, I think she said, and that the inflation is
just catching a little resistance at our baseline.
Where they've met their targets, and I think when
maybe support, look at that. It's almost a big massive second leg now. Beautiful. Another $100, I'm out.
And I worry that will cause us to
gold, yeah, pushing up. Let's see if it breaks this. If not, it's gonna push back down again. But if it goes green, and we're in for a buy.
Rampant tightening could create noise within the market.
That would be a huge concern if we went to the back end of December where the credit market, high yield of the primary market totally froze up. Robert Buckland, the key to last year was not the Fed. The key to last year was earnings, it was margins, and margins held up despite high inflation here in America.
RSI's 48.
Going to be different.
I think it's going to be a bit tougher. You're absolutely right,
John. RSI 15, hit that heavy support and then pushing down.
the taps open.
All to do with the Fed news, like you say.
Very, very strong. Earnings were up 53% globally last year. Our forecast, I get lots of things wrong in this business, but I've really got the one wrong a year ago. Our forecast just a year ago was 25-30%, and we were more bullish than everyone else. I think that 53% number is more likely to be 6, 7, 8, something like that this year. So the tailwind from very cheap money, I don't see that being here this year. And then the tailwind from continued earnings upgrades, I don't see that being here this year. And yeah, one of the things I'd point out to your
across that 14,
your listeners and so on the show,
Nas is pulling back now, like I say.
Statement, tightening financial conditions. That means markets going
Beautiful.
down. Let's not forget about that.
$250 on Nas, caught there.
Means markets
Waiting for another sell on US-30. See if this
means
down.
Going up. I think markets are going to struggle to digest initially the first hikes that we're going to see.
Told you Nas would sell.
Going down. The question, Robert Buckland,
Did I get there? Yes, got $25 on the US-30 sell. I got $270 on the
resistance at that KG line on gold.
Beautiful.
We run these sort of simple models which show you that you can explain 90% of the valuation of the US tech sector using US 10-year real.
$400 there.
Now, if we were to move US 10-year real,
I was going $300 just on NAS, and then another 100 on US-30. Told you NAS would pull back. Hit the neutral resistance zone. Just had to wait for that initial spike. Yeah, it's not doing anything gold yet. You don't want to be taking a buy yet till it breaks here because it's in the neutral. It could come back down again.
It'd probably help if I was looking at gold and not silver.
Yeah, we're talking about the 10-year.
Yeah, you don't want to be.
So let me just go back to you, Robert Buckland, and just use that as an assumption and walk me over what you just walked us through just moments ago. If we went back to zero on real rates in 6 months, what would that mean for this market, for tech stocks specifically?
Yeah, that would put them.
Odd wants to buy, but it's not ready yet.
2021 times. We're not as bearish as Rob is on the real rate going up to zero.
US-30 hitting heavy support. Look, RSI's 12. It's great moves. This is.
3 or 4 years with the Nasdaq trading near a 20.
Nas pushing back up. Might look at more buyers on Nas. Actually, just catch this wick. It's just wick down.
Up 4 basis points to 93. Let's call it 94. Up almost a basis point on 10s to 176.93 on the equity market.
Because it's moving quick. It's good.
0.2%. The S&P on track for its 6th consecutive session of losses amid rising rates and inflation fears. Let's bring in Kaylee Lyons for more. Hey, Kaylee.
Hey, John. Well, that's the story in the S&P. When it comes to the Nasdaq 100, you actually saw it snapping a 4-day losing streak yesterday and really incredible intraday trading. At one point in the Monday session, that index was down 2.7%.
Got another 30, 40. Got another $75 there on Nas. The buy.
Beautiful spike up on gold.
Told you it was going to buy. Told you.
To save the equity markets. And of course, yesterday's move also technically significant in that we saw it bumping against support around that 100-day moving average. Something we've seen at tech.
Look at Nas. Look at that. RSI is going to cross. Could be a buy again.
We've seen a real rotation out of tech underway. The broader information technology index is down the better part of 5%.
Gold now buying as well.
6 percentage points year to date.
See if it breaks that neutral zone.
Are outperforming. Energy and banks up 10.5% and 9% respectively. Of course, we'll see if the banks in particular can keep that up as they start rolling out earnings later this week. But obviously, that sector has gotten a lift from what you were just discussing, and that is higher treasury yields. Really, it's the rate story that has been driving the story for risk assets broadly in 2022 so far, as the 10-year has moved up more than 0.25% over the course of just over a week, putting pressure on richly valued stocks and really risk assets.
It's great. This is all Fed speak.
Being Bitcoin, which is now down the better part of 40% from its peak. That was back in November, John.
What a move. Kaylee, thank you. If you're just tuning in for our audience worldwide, just moments ago we caught up with the Cleveland Fed President, Loretta Mester. Take a listen to what she had to say.
There's still a lot of uncertainty around the outlook. There's uncertainty about how the pandemic plays out. As we've seen each new variant, the economy has really navigated it in terms of the economic outlook. But right now, we have to say that we probably need to recalibrate our policy stance because inflation is well above where we need it to be.
Yes.
We're in a good place to move policy.
Got another 41. I got another $100 on Nas there. Buys again. Beautiful, beautiful. I told you it was going to pull back and buy. More buys.
Tiffany, I'm seeing China closing cities.
Look at gold.
Lockdown. I'm seeing additional restrictions in Hong Kong. Goldman this morning cutting their forecast on the world's second largest economy from 4.8 to 4.3. How are you thinking about these things in your cyclical outlook? What does that mean for what happens?
Now look at that, call that spike. Now it's spiking down again, so I'll wait again until it bounces. See if it hits that neutral resistance again. Again, you want to wait till the RSI breaks our average line here. Just getting out of gold there. Brilliant. What did I get? £39, $50. $50 on gold there. On the buy.
And that is
Perfect.
resulting in them having much more stringent restrictions around outbreaks. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that there's a higher likelihood that production is disrupted, across the supply chain once again. And as we've seen over the last year, that has been very important for the inflation outlook, not only in the U.S., but in other developed markets. So I think this just creates a much more uncertain path for inflation. There's clearly upside risks here. And I think that's in a little bit, I think those risks to inflation are a little bit higher than maybe some of the downside risks to growth as a result of this. Also for the reason that President Mester suggested.
What, 20 minutes to the news? Look at NAS now. Now it's coming down again. Now it's selling again now. Going the opposite way. Fine by me.
That we're seeing at home as a result of
it's really volatile. It's great.
Becoming, kind of reduced. Although we are starting to see in high-frequency data, travel services and things like that at year-end, restaurant activity, that.
Yes, again, what did I get there? 51, $125. Yes. Oh, Naz, I love you today. Great, scalping.
Global slowdown call, the headwinds ahead.
Got the sales this time.
Your forecast for global real GDP plus 4.2 in 22 versus 5.6 in 21. Downgrades to China, Eurozone GDP in the last few months. Only Japan expected to accelerate. Robert Buckland, when you think about the global...
Told you both ways. Let's look at that drop now. Got the little buy, that little pullback, look.
I like the Japan story, Jonathan.
Now it's selling.
People don't like negative deltas.
Coming down to some heavy support. So if it breaks this, we can go and sell again. Two levels here, key levels. Gold, on the other hand, is looking to push up. Again, it hasn't broke out the neutral, you see. False break, 54. Now you want to wait for it to pull up again.
So for people who are starting to get scared of the noise,
so it's going to be 68. So you're looking at 5 points. US-30 taking a dip as well, look, and now is into the support zone. That's kind of run its course now. We're not taking any more sells on that. But NAS
is correct, which is that we have a slowing global growth.
RSI is 19.
Normal growth patterns coming out of this big recovery after the COVID correction.
See if it does any more maneuvers.
Now above trend. I think that the early part of the year is going to be fine because we have.
It does. Excellent. Two more. What do we get? 40 and 70, 73 pounds. That's about $100 again. Another 100 on NAS.
At the same time,
Come on, two positions each time.
Continuing to slow. We expect growth in the US to be about 2% on a run rate by the end of the year.
Rob Walder, Robert Buckland, and Tiffany Wilding. Guys, thank you. Thanks for working through the opening bell with me. I appreciate it. Coming up on this program, China sticking to.
That's going so well. You see, I took that because there's no key level between here and here. That's 100. RSI still dipping, still on the 18 level.
That conversation up next from New York. This is Bloomberg.
Out again. Ghosted one position then. I got £22.55, which is about another $40, $35. That's another one done. Printing all this lot off. Just NAS, trade after trade after trade. This is. When you find the one that's doing the performance fee, this is what you got to stick with. That's going again because RSI is still 18, you see. So it's still not moving. It's not doing anything.
Happening on Wall Street.
It's the basic law of economics.
The Fed is telling us this is transitory.
Keep watching. Keep watching. Got no positions open at the moment.
We've got the information and insights.
David, you just hit the nail right on the head.
Watching this price action. You're not pushing. It's going to go down to our next points of interest level.
Our systems.
Bloomberg Wall Street.
Let's see.
Premieres Friday with replays all weekend on Bloomberg Television and Radio.
Goes green, we'll pull back. RSI is 21 now, look, you see, so we can look to take a buy. US-30, if it breaks this level, we're going in for sells. Gold, again, pulling back, it's going to form a W, as you can see.
Reduction up to 40-fold, meaning that a third dose is a must for it to successfully neutralize the variant.
Pattern forming there, look, nice.
What are the effects of mix and matching between vaccines, and what are the capabilities?
We'll see hit our resistance, as I said, dropping nicely.
Neutralizing Omicron.
And then we will get back to our trend line at some point, maybe back up to that 1807. And again, this is all depends on the news. Patterns and everything can go out the equation when the news is like this. So gold there.
The data changes, so it will be really good to look at large-scale data of the ability of antibodies.
A good sell. It's gone red. If it crosses here, you can get it on a sell. We're to get 50 to 100. There, take 50 on that. The center W leg.
It means that all of the vaccines which are designed with spike in mind still works. Imagine if it uses a different receptor other than ACE2. None of the vaccines would work today. So I think that is the best news that we got from all these studies which came recently, the past couple of days.
He's done well, nice one, Nicky. On fire as always.
By my mother when I was about 16, one of her old
RSI 44. Gold's going to push down.
For the mood changing, the confidence boosting aspects, so the sort of tribal aspects of what fashion does.
US-30 curling still at 8. So again, I'd be looking, just wait, hold on this now. NAS push back a little bit.
Omicron has presented an unprecedented.
It breaks this level here, we could be in for a buy.
The peak with Omicron is probably happening.
The protection that you are getting after
Which is great proper true scalping that's really not necessarily news, there's no kind of news led, but we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 trades since the open.
To the US by the end
so far.
We have a really good vaccine coupled with
in 28 minutes, and we've got the news coming up.
Be in a better position with tests as we move forward.
We might end up in a world where it might be for people at
14 trades really, because there's 2 positions in each. I do double, so 14 trades in real terms.
Putting fresh strain on its economy. The country locking down its second city. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, reimposing some of its strictest curbs. For more, let's get to Damien Sassower of Bloomberg Intelligence. Damien, you and I have been following this story. The world has. Goldman out this morning, cutting their forecast for China GDP. A lot of that concentrated in Q1. I imagine you're thinking about the same thing.
Yeah, justifiably so. I mean, let's put some numbers behind it, Jonathan. I mean, Anyang, which is the second city that Beijing closed down in as many months, Xi'an being the first, is a city of 5.5 million people. 5.5 million people. Xi'an has 8.4 million people. I mean, Chicago, by comparison, 2.7 million people. So these are huge, huge cities. And obviously with the Olympics coming up, I mean, just to be clear,
$877 in profit in 29 minutes. There you go. So that's a good NY open, I would say, scalping and scalping the NAS as well. So that's really good.
To the rest of the world through supply bottlenecks, inflation growth can't be underestimated. Yes, we are looking for GDP growth of under 5% year over year this year.
Under 5. And Damon, it's not just the scale of the cities, the size of the cities.
Let's
it's what it
see.
takes to shut them down.
Oh yeah.
If you think about Hong Kong, this is the stat I've been looking at this morning over and over again just to make sure I'm reading it correctly. I read it multiple times. Carrie Lam, the chief executive of Hong Kong, said the city has tested around 920,000 people over the past 2 weeks. Guess how many positive cases they found? 42. 42. Can you imagine the same thing happening in America?
And they're closing primary schools and bars and beauty salons, and they're closing them until after the New Year. Remember, the New Year in China is the 1st of February. It lasts for 2 weeks, so children aren't going to go back to school in China.
Hey, 1, 2.
I mean, this is
I can hear you.
Jesus.
We agree with you.
Yes.
This is all stuff to be watching. But look,
I meant the little one.
seems like it's erring on the side
Holy
of caution.
fucking shit.
Trying to loosen liquidity. We did see
Fuck.
the triple R cut. We did see the low.
I sent you a picture of it.
You know, are more expected. We think so. We think another 50 to 100 basis points of rate cuts are expected in the next, call it, 3 to 6 months.
Wow, amazing numbers. Damien, always going to catch up with you, sir. Damien Sassa, the level of tolerance in some way, and not exclusively because they've had this zero COVID policy for a long, long time. The vaccine coverage in places like Hong Kong, a massive issue, particularly for the older cohorts of the population.
So we've got 9 minutes to the news and the Fed speaking as well. So this is the next thing we're waiting for now. 9 minutes to go.
In China, here's the story between the US and Russia. Officials vowing to continue discussions with the first round of talks, failing to resolve differences.
Now's ranging a little bit. Would have taken a buy there.
Wendy Sherman saying the following: "We were firm in pushing back on security proposals that
See.
are simply non-starters for the US. We will not allow anyone to slam close NATO's open door policy." Bloomberg's Anne-Marie Hordern down in DC now. Morning, Anne-Marie.
Good morning, John. As you said, nothing concrete coming out of those Geneva talks. The sum of it is that there will be more talks. And in this high-stakes situation, even the fact that there's appetite from Washington and Moscow to continue a dialogue is optimistic. You read out what Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman, her counterpart in Russia, Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, here's what he had to say following the meeting. "Our business-like and professional dialogue, of course, makes us more optimistic, but the key issue remain unresolved. The situation is so dangerous that we cannot afford any further delays in resolution of this fundamental question." And then this morning, Jonathan, we heard from Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, and he says what is going to be able to judge or characterize these talks is going to be the remainder of the week. So what comes next? Following Geneva, there's NATO discussions with Russia in Brussels, and then larger security talks that are going to happen in Vienna. So it still remains a high-stakes situation. We heard yesterday from...
Naz pulling back, as I said, look, now I can take a buy.
There is still this threat as Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, continues to build up now more than 100,000 troops. But Jonathan, there's one data point that I would like to bring up, because if you go to Russia, this is something that people who are there could really understand. In 2014, there was mass rhetoric across Russian state TV about Ukraine. Now, in spring, when President Vladimir Putin again had a buildup, that rhetoric really started to die down. And we are seeing the same thing happen again. And we know that the Kremlin has a very strong grip on the state TV. So this is potentially one glimmer of hope.
Yep, cool. Another two on 35 and 22 on Naz. Perfect. We're sticking with Naz because it's doing really well for us.
Down in DC right now, equities lower 0.4% on the S&P, about 22 minutes in. With your sector price action, here's Kriti Gupta.
Well, good morning, John. Fairly red, a lot of red on the screen. You're seeing a lot of selling pressure. The one really big pocket of green here.
This ought to be your second leg on gold.
Following oil prices higher, but even with that, you have yields that have been
Could
higher.
be.
Financials have been the outperformer.
Or could be a false and then drop again.
Pocket of green in banks, but not able to
Could be. If it goes green, we're in. But look at that.
It retested that neutral support.
As usual, one of your biggest weights is going to be
Naz done so well. Wow.
At UBS, but you're also seeing a lot of action in the
So many sells and buy. I've never traded so much on Naz in one go.
Getting an upgrade over at KeyBank.
Done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 trades on Naz.
Hiring Micron's David Zinsner as CFO, but that news not enough to withstand some of that really aggressive selling pressure you're seeing in the tech space this morning, John.
Kriti, thank you. Thank you very much. Coming up, your market moving events that you need to be watching. That'll be next in our training diary from New York City. This is Bloomberg.
Thank you, Jonathan. We know it's going to be moving. We've got 5 minutes to go to the news. 5 minutes. So I've got no positions open at the moment. Finishing my coffee. I'll grab another one.
We're flashing green on gold, green and white, green and grey.
I'm good to. Should we trade gold or should we trade US-30 on this economic optimism? Obviously, we're trading gold on this. It's going to be the opposite way. So depends how it's sat. If this is sat in the neutral zone, it might be tricky. But US-30, obviously, if the news is positive, it's a good time to buy because you can just see the price action. Look, it's ranging. Dropping, going up, doesn't know what it's doing, it's sat on support, so let's wait for this economic news, and if it's good, we might get a cheeky buy. So far so good. let's wait for...
Many people who are minorities don't any longer believe in the American dream. What do you say to these people about whether this country really...
Wait for the news.
The American dream is
News now.
but it is failing a lot of people because of some of these racial blinders that exist.
Here in London, in Sydney,
In San Francisco.
9 a.m. in Beijing and Shanghai.
Good morning, everyone. Have a great evening.
To recap the headlines.
You do not want to miss this
How
story.
are you thinking about those dynamics?
Get ready.
I do not believe we have an ethics problem. I think what happened was there was a elimination.
US-30 still dropping, still dropping. Look at this, even more, it's great. Look at that. And zoom out, you can see the level where it could go back down to, all the way back down here, 3571. So don't be surprised, it all depends on this news. We can retest this zone here.
That's the view of the Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester just moments ago, exclusively on this program with Mike McKee and myself. A view that
4 minutes to go.
over to Chairman Powell's testimony, his reconfirmation hearing in just a moment. Your equity market down 30. We're down again for a sixth day on the S&P by 0.7%. The Nasdaq down by 0.5%. That's the price action. Here's the trading diary. Top of the hour. Fed Chair Jay Powell heading to Capitol Hill for his renomination hearing at the top of the hour, and no one's been asking whether
Gold on the rise.
gives you an idea of the story that's set to play out.
See if we can break that trend line.
Speaking later this afternoon, host of
There we go, look, there's your
Look ahead to that.
Biden, Fed speak.
Tomorrow morning is a big one. 7-handle expected. Then on to retail sales on
Right, get ready. Here we go. 2 minutes to go to the economic optimism. And remember, above 50 is optimistic and therefore buying. And if it's below the 48, then we're looking for selling. And the other reverse if you're going to trade gold, of course. Gold, as Justin said, looks like it's doing the old second leg now. So we could have got in there for a buy, but I'm waiting for this news, because if the news is good, then obviously we're going to see gold drop. Hopefully, that's the way it should play. US-30, I just zoomed out there just to show you the bigger picture of why it's dropping and where the level could be. The heavy support zone, of course, is here. Here's your zone support, as you can see.
This week, how hydrogen can
It's kind of touched it, so let's see. It all depends on this news.
The most abundant element could be a game changer in the climate revolution.
We don't need the laws of physics to change to be able to use hydrogen on our planes.
From iron ore to green hydrogen, one of Australia's
Let's see. That's me being optimistic that it's good. Could be bad, in which case it's sell. This is not an indication of where I think it's going to go. I'm just putting the arrow on the chart. Let's see. Right, make sure my broker's loaded up. US-30 and gold. Okay.
Costs are coming down and people are waking up to the fact that it's the only way to
Let's see.
sectors. I'm Kaylee Lyons from Bloomberg's World Headquarters in
30 seconds to go. Good luck, everybody. And the Fed will start talking as well, but it probably won't kick off for a few minutes after that. And then that'll be the end of our stream, and we'll come back for our API. But yeah, I mean, we're $900 up, so can't moan at that at the moment. Let's see if we can round off this session. 15 seconds. Good luck. Remember, if it's the same as predicted, it should be a buy. Should be. But again, watch price action. Will be a slow mover because it's a medium impact. But let's see. Here we go. Let's see what pops out the woodwork.
Search Go to find answers.
Again, never traded this one before, so we're going to go in with house money once we get a result. There's nothing, no movement there, look, yet. I don't know if this is a quick result or slow result or what, so I'll just wait and see. Gold dropping, look, so it could mean is it good news? US-30, here we go. No, 44.7. So let's see.
Huge swaths of the island are still without power, running water, or access to medical care.
See if it gets a drop, and it does.
Take years before these services are restored island-wide.
Yes, done. Brilliant. In and out on US-30, and we got we get 35. We got about $50 on that. Brilliant. That was a good quick in and out. I might go again. Let's see.
Look at gold.
Sell US-30. Have a look. There you go. Look, pushing down. Oh yeah, brilliant, brilliant. We're out. Yes, $200. 86 and 72. Perfect. That'll do. I love this news event. That's brilliant. That's took us to over $1,000 in half an hour of trading. There you can't moan. There you go. All sells on the.
You can add another one to the bag for fundamental trading.
Yeah.
I see two Puerto Ricos. We're here in San Juan. They have telecommunications restored.
Yeah, definitely. So here we go. I'll just print the result there. What did gold do? And just let me check.
Go look at it.
Gold buying,
deep in,
of course. Yeah,
I'm deep in profit.
Yeah, gold buying. So as you'd expect with the news going that way, it's ranging. Is he talking as well? See if we can catch anything and see if that spike gets cleared on gold. Have a look.
That's definitely going to get cleared. We're staying bullish all the way through the entire length of the candle.
RSI 61.
Dr. Sally Priester is a physician from San Juan. She filled a
This should be a trend line break. Yep.
brought along a team of nurses. Google Maps estimated our first.
Let's see if we can keep pushing up through that heavy resistance. We got about 4 different blue resistance zones we need to break through.
Pretty good.
Our first stop was the home of an 82-year-old blind Vietnam veteran. His roof was blown off by the storm, and he's been living alone in a back shed for nearly.
Beautiful. Jumping up to almost 1808.
Got broken in the storm. So
US-30 yeah, it took the drop. So that was the economic optimism news. It's the sell. Put on the chart so we can keep it as a test. That might still drop even more yet. No, it's dropping even more. But like gold, got $20 on the gold on that buy there because we want to go back in on US-30. Oh.
Their job here was to survey and report back to their superiors, and did not come with medical aid of any kind.
People think that FEMA is there to
Cleared one position in profit, open up a little bit of margin.
RSI is 22. Wonder if it's going to dip back down again. Yeah, gold. Look at that's great. So yeah, definitely that news worked out well. That's the make a note so we can back test this as well. IBD.
Save that one though. We can stream that next time.
Here's some of these medium impact ones are worth trading, you see. They're definitely a good.
Your medium impacts, you can still get good movement out of. It's the low impacts that don't really make any difference. Can we push up to the extension at 1810 on gold? I think we can.
Heavy resistance.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, we're staying bullish all the way through.
Yeah, I'll go in. If it gets to 75, I'll go back in again.
Yeah. We're not getting any pullback through that candle.
So the Fed's speaking now. This is the news. So that was a successful trade on that. Worse than expected, you see. So pessimistic, as you probably would have expected.
Yep.
US-30 now. Look, it's done the drop, and now it's pulling back a little bit. This is a heavy support zone on US-30. You see, so now it's pushing up. Look, see. That's why you have to get in, get out, take the green. That means that gold is probably pushing back a little bit. No, so it's still, you say it's going up, hit that heavy resistance.
It's pushing through heavy resistance right now. It broke all three of those zones.
Yep. RSI 68. It reached a peak off 69. Look, yeah, and pulled back. So if it breaks, if it goes above that, it's going into 75 zone. Say, just see if we might get a little bit of a rejection before it pushes back up again. Look at NAS. NAS pulled back. Look at that. There you go.
We decided to take a little detour, come up here and check out and see what's going on.
DAX is pushing up. Trendline break.
Everything is coming back to the minor resistance. Gold's going to dip a little bit, is it? Yeah.
I'm catching a little resistance on that one.
It's said in disaster response and emergency response that the real first responders are your neighbors. You don't need to wait for a lucrative FEMA contract to go out and do good and to help the community.
Leanne, do you feel like you're making a difference?
I'm not trying to impose my will on the market, but I'd really like to see it break that zone right there and open us back up to 1830. It's pulling back heavy now.
At 65, it's just dropped.
Yeah.
US-30 pushing up. As pushing up.
Anderson hopes to stay here to help shape Puerto Rico's future.
Puerto Rico's essentially been a colony for 400 years.
See if Naz is going to push up any more.
Was not treated well by the United States when it first got here. Puerto Rico can continue in the way that it's always been, or Puerto Rico can rebuild itself.
Struggling up, wants to get back up.
And we have to do everything we can to make that real. That's the bottom line.
There, what did I get? £24, $35. I just got there on the buy on NAS. Quick. In and out. Loving the NAS today. Loving the NAS today.
I'm busy.
Still waiting for Rainbow to come on the Fed. Look at the index.
Yeah, we got the pullback on gold from that heavy resistance. Love you.
The print for that. See NAS pulling up. No, because I've just been taking loads of buys on it. Down, S&P dropping. Still ranging, you see. Still waiting. We're above the average line. RSI is now 32, so we don't want to be taking buys just yet. Just waiting. We'll get another drop. There was the optimism news, the sell spike. That was enough. And the optimism news here, look, was actually good for the NAS. So look, there was the entry point. It was a buy. If NAS breaks here, look, we can go again for a buy. RSI is creeping back up to the previous level of 67. You can see here before retracements. Let's see if we can get above 67, break this zone, and then we can do some more buys on NAS. Looking quite good, looking powerful at the moment. Another 290 points, 84% bull momentum.
Caught a piece of that little sell on gold.
Very good, very good. Watching NAS. Ranging around, it's trying to break that zone. I'm going to get back to that breakout zone. Look our dotted line there. By 65. 84% position rising. 83% daily volume. The gold, look, there you go. It reached its peak there. Pulled back, as I said, back into the neutral zone. If we get red and breaks the average, guess what we're doing? We're going to be selling. Followed the pattern quite nicely there. Smooth. Now, obviously, we're looking for this. If it's going to either break the trend line or bounce off it, then back to our heavy resistance zone. We could get a retest further down here. Could be. This could shoot back all the way up.
When the news of
watch the outside.
Bombing came out, it was a massive story in Germany.
We are following some breaking news coming to us out of Dortmund in Germany.
It was covered by all the media outlets.
3 roadside explosions triggered at the same time last night as a coach left its hotel in the south of Dortmund.
Public figures commented on it.
Back to NAS, just keep an eye on NAS again.
Affect our life, whoever it was.
It's going to push.
The media echo went far beyond Dortmund.
I think it was front page news in every single big paper around Europe. Everyone thought of like a terrorist attack, and people were scared that throughout the city in Dortmund.
And you can see the bigger picture, and you can see the pattern.
Just after the bomb went off, and the players of the team.
W, beautiful, look at that. 2 times, touch, and up it went.
In the hotel, eating
now,
steak and
come back probably for a final drop. So, if you zoom out, you can see the bigger pattern. You can see how far it's got to go.
My name is Thomas
to get back to any kind of normal level here. Look, which is the top of our grid. 15841 is the zone. NAS wants to get back to as tech sold off, as you can see.
Dortmund is
Now it's rallied.
a mid-sized city.
This is
in
the end of the other day.
Part of Germany in a state called North Rhine-Westphalia. And it's a former industrial city that's kind of fallen on hard times in the last few decades. It was severely bombed in the war. So the center of the city is quite stark. Some of the few high points include its soccer team.
Back, RSI is 59.
I'm a reporter with Bloomberg News, and I'm a great fan.
And do this W pattern, as you can see, or trying to, it is doing, should I say.
On all match days, the entire city is in black and yellow. It's like a religion.
I think more than most German cities,
Beautiful leg there.
soccer does play a very large role in the identity of Dortmund.
I'm going to retest our neutral support zone here,
In
look.
October of 2000,
Or then,
became the first team
again, we're saying this while we know the Fed's talking, so let's wait for Bloomberg to report on that as well.
Very dramatically. With such high prices, they thought that by going public, they would be able to compete better with.
So you've done that, look at that. There you go, as we said, just retested our neutral support zone. Coming back into, so it didn't break above that 60 base.
In 2005.
The price of their shares, it has sometimes gone up, but mostly gone down since they made that decision.
We've still got the Fed talking
So
here.
on April 11th, 2017, the team was staying in a hotel on the outskirts.
We're doing about another 10 minutes well, on the session, so we'll do 90 minutes.
Everyone is looking forward to it.
And like I say, we're no trades open at the moment. We're around about 1,000. So we've done really well on a kind of a non-news day, but obviously we now know that this. Did I put IBD?
Pretty optimistic they had a chance to go really far.
Economic optimism news is worth trading. Another one to add.
Ready for match day. Was going to meet with a friend, a fellow Dortmund supporter, in a pub. As always, the fans are very excited about matches.
On that day, they were heading to play in the quarterfinal against AS Monaco at Signal Iduna Stadium, which is in the center of Dortmund. Shortly before 7 p.m., the players of the team boarded their official team bus.
When the bus took off the parking lot of the hotel and turned on the street, there were three detonations, 3 bombs that exploded and hit the bus of Dortmund.
3 explosions.
There's a pull-up in US-30.
To the Borussia Dortmund team bus.
This.
The B team bus had just left the hotel. The explosions destroyed 2 windows in the rear part of the bus.
People screamed, people jumped to the ground.
The fellow Dortmund fan I was supposed to watch the match with, he called me and said, turn on the TV, there was an attack on the Dortmund bus.
Tech's going to rise with it as well.
That was impossible.
If it's got to, again, it's got to break our baseline, go green, and that's a safer way to take your buys. Naz, see if it's going to now push up from here. Back to 59.
Dortmund bus contained metal pins, and the one had pierced a seat headrest.
Unbeknownst to the team members, the actual mastermind behind the attack was, as they were disembarking, the bus was actually eating steak and sweet potatoes at the hotel they had just left.
Authorities are attempting to verify a letter left at the scene claiming jihadists were behind the attack.
Because there had been a series of attacks by Islamic terrorists in Germany and Europe, there was widespread suspicion in the media that this was another Islamic terror attack. 3 letters were found at the site of the bombing that took credit for the attack on behalf of Islamic State. There were, however, reasons to doubt this particular narrative.
Would actually be a surprise if ISIS were actually part of this attack. Possibly could be employed by other groups like the far right wing to try and shift the blame.
The letters had some strange qualities. They were written in a strange German, used big, sophisticated words, but had basic grammar mistakes. Someone was a German speaker but pretending to be a foreign person.
Federal investigators have detained 1 man suspected of links to Islamist terrorism, one of 2 suspects whose apartments were raided this morning.
Shortly after the bombing, a man in Austria named Rudolf, who was a big BVB fan, he noticed that something strange was going on the stock market related to the team's shares. He emailed the lawyers of BVB, who then forwarded that email on to investigators. The email stated that someone had bought 60,000 BVB put options, a wager that the value of the shares of the team would fall below a certain amount at a certain date.
Why would someone buy that ahead of match?
Gold found support. Looks like it's going to try and bounce back.
Something is right here.
For the person to make money off of that, it required the stock to go down quite a bit in a fairly short period of time. And it wouldn't just be the team losing.
Sorry about that, Roy.
It requires something much bigger than that.
Sorry, I got off. Oh, God.
Which is the fact that it had actually been made, number one, on the day of the bombing, but also from an IP address that had been traced to the actual hotel where the bombing had taken place.
When 3 explosions targeted the bus carrying the Borussia Dortmund footballers on April the 11th, written notes left at the scene claimed the attack was the work of ISIL. The truth, as is now alleged, is remarkable.
On April 21st, the police arrested a man in a southern German city called Tübingen. He was on his way to work.
Still ranging a little bit, still looking, yeah, still caught in a range, obviously.
Like an unlikely suspect.
Don't know if this
connections to the Islamic terror world.
had said anything or not, I don't really know. I'm waiting for Bloomberg to...
left-wing extremist either. He seemed to be a completely unremarkable young man.
A 28-year-old German-Russian man, named only as Sergei W., stayed in the same hotel as the players on the night before the bombing. He specifically requested an upper room overlooking the bushes where the explosive devices were hidden.
The media dissected why he would do that, what was his past.
He had been inspired by the 2015 terror attack in Paris. And he noticed that in the aftermath of the attack, the stocks of French companies went down. And he believed that if an attack took place that was directed at a specific company, that the decrease in stock price for that company would be even more dramatic.
It never occurred to anyone that someone would do that out of greed.
We now know that the suspect bought 3 different derivatives on the Borussia Dortmund shares. With all these derivatives, he bet on falling shares. The suspect bought the majority of these financial products on the 11th of April, the day of the attack.
If the plot had been completely successful and the stock had reached a value of 0, Wienergold would have made up to 570,000 euros, or the equivalent of about $608,000. Ultimately, the plan completely backfired.
The attacker, Sergei Wienergold, didn't make any money. In fact, he lost money.
In court, he would be extremely quiet. He usually kept his hands clasped together. One of the lawyers actually commented that
58. Still waiting for a move. Let's have a look at gold.
Calmly. Wienergold had served.
It's just, look at that, following my pattern exactly. Look at that up.
From online research.
Nice cheeky M.
Figure out how to assemble remote detonated
RSI 60. If it doesn't get above that 68, then it's going to come back down again. If it gets above the 68, then going higher.
There were a
To
few
retest that resistance zone. So we'll either wait for a break or we'll take the sell.
Doubting whether or not they could ever play another game again.
I'm more interested. Let's look at US-30 as well. Yeah, doing again, not quite getting to the neutral zone and backing off. So again, we're on our neutral pivot. So this is the area you have to watch out for, because this will be forming could be forming that W pattern. So this could be the pullback on it.
May have simply done it because he wanted to.
The neutral on our baseline, you see, like here, and then dipping back down again. Could be here, could be to our next level. We don't know. Could be down to here, and then we might get some gains back to touch our trend line. So it could be that reasonable looking pattern.
A Russian immigrant to Germany. He speaks with an accent. He has anxiety.
Let's watch. I want to see if we're going to get a push up on NAS. And I want to take more buys on this, but it's not there, but look at that, it's 200 points, plenty of room to our blue line to get to, which is if the RSI can just creep 64. Watch this for a minute. We'll do another 5 minutes, and we'll see if Bloomberg actually says anything about the Fed, but it's not actually said anything yet. Waiting for this used to finish.
Vaynergold was charged with 28 counts of attempted murder, which carried a maximum sentence in Germany of life in prison. He claimed that he had nothing to do with the attack, but as time went on, he admitted that he had actually been the person who had built the explosives and had set them off. But he claimed that he didn't want to actually kill anybody. Ultimately, Vaynergold didn't receive the harshest possible sentence. He was given 14 years in prison, but it's still a considerable amount in jail in Germany.
The threat of an asteroid hitting Earth is very real. If it's big enough, it's also very final.
These are very, very infrequent events. The probability is not zero, though.
A blinding flash of light streaking across the sky.
US-30, yeah, right. Still, look, NAS, same.
About 100
Dipping a little bit, look, yeah, following my pattern. Gonna bounce off its neutral.
Most of it is so small it burns up in
Take,
our atmosphere or lands
take another buy on this.
away from major populations.
Just wait till it finds some
Most human
support.
in the past 1,000 years is known to have been killed by a meteorite, and according to NASA, no large object is likely to strike the Earth any time in the next several hundred years. However, one thing is certain: we haven't found them all.
There are thousands out there, and we don't know where they are.
There are a lot of asteroids in our solar system. They number in the billions.
Scientists all over the world are working toward detecting and deflecting the most catastrophic of natural disasters.
The race is on to find as many of these objects as we can.
We have a way of calculating whether or not an asteroid is potentially dangerous or not.
I mean, I think it's something worth investing in. It's our existence at stake, right?
Amy, let's get this one out of the way. It's probably the question you get asked the most, but how scared should we be?
Asteroids and comets are a natural hazard that's out there like a lot of other natural hazards. These are very, very infrequent events, these collision events, where an object actually impacts the Earth. The most important thing that we need to know about asteroids is when the next impact is going to happen and how bad it will be. What we know is that an object that's about, say, a kilometer across is capable of causing very, very wide devastation across the planet, really, truly global devastation. The object that wiped out the dinosaurs was somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 kilometers across, so even bigger than that. At a kilometer, it's still going to be very bad and will have global effects. For objects that are capable of causing what I would call sort of regional damage, kind of a large major metropolitan area, a city and its surrounding environment, sort of around 100-ish meters. It depends on the details of the composition and so forth.
By the 1980s, NASA was cataloguing near-Earth objects. In 1994, stargazers watched as comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 hit Jupiter. The resulting zone of chaos was estimated to be as large as the Earth, and the event became a turning point in the search for asteroids and comets in our solar system. In 1998, Congress tasked NASA with finding 90% of asteroids and comets 1 kilometer wide or larger. Soon after, Hollywood blockbusters Armageddon and Deep Impact brought attention and fear to the masses.
The great news is that the vast majority, more than 90% of all the really large 1 kilometer near-Earth objects have been found. The challenge now is working down to these smaller sizes that are still quite capable of causing a lot of damage, but they're just harder to spot because they're fainter, they're smaller.
Can you give us a sense of how many are out there in our solar system?
We know there are a lot
It's
of
like gold
asteroids in our
setting up for
solar
that
system.
M.
They number in the billions. Most of them, however, are between Mars and Jupiter in
Ranging a
what we
little
call the
bit.
main asteroid belt.
So yeah, just
This is
hit
a
that.
region of space where most of the asteroids
Double
in the inner
tapped,
part
double
of
tapped.
our solar system live, and they stay there
And
for many
down.
billions of years. There is another population, though, that kind of leaks inward and gets
NAS
into
pushing up.
some
This is what I
belt
wanted to
of
see.
and we call these near-Earth objects. We think that there are millions and millions of near-Earth objects that are out there.
I just
in the
spiked
global
up then.
population.
I
As of
missed out on
today,
that.
we know of sort of
Spiking back
around
down
20,
again.
25,000, something
Pushing
like
back up
that.
again.
When we first spot an object, we really know very little about it. We just see
This is
something
why the Fed,
moving across the sky. So all you get is
why
just sort of
Bloomberg doesn't show it live.
just enough to be able to tell that this isn't an asteroid that we've already seen before. And then once we can calculate the distance to it, we can now start to make predictions about its true size. Is it large or is it small? So we have a lot of information that we have to get pretty quickly to really understand what's going on.
Finding asteroids is just one piece of the puzzle. Planetary scientists are extremely skilled in determining the orbits and speeds of asteroids based on relatively small amounts of data. NASA runs simulations of the trajectories asteroids could take, which is useful but time-consuming. A team of scientists in the Netherlands have found a way that could buy us more time.
Our method is very quick. So you can very quickly get an assessment of whether or not the object is dangerous or not. If you look at the classical way of determining the danger of an asteroid, it may take days of computing time on very big machines to determine this hazardousness.
The current problem is that there's just too many asteroids out there to spend a huge amount of computational power on all of them. So the neural network allows us to focus on what really could go and pose a hazard to Earth.
A neural network is a computing system that mimics the way
Look at Spike, beautiful.
to find underlying relationships in a set of
Buy
data.
and sell.
By training the network in this way, you
Back into the neutral
train it
zone.
in recognizing those objects that are most likely
Hold
hit
back
the
up.
planet. And once it's trained, you
Like I
can
say,
apply
it's
this network
got to
to
break
all
all
the
these three
other
zones now. And then
you
we're
can make
above
a selection
18,
and saying, hey,
again to
these are the ones
1810
which appear to be
territory. You
having
can see
orbits
it's
similar to the
what I'm
ones which
thinking
we
is going to be a
know are hitting the
pushback.
planet.
Oh no, here we go, look,
That
they're
doesn't
doing
mean
it,
that
so it
they
could be
do,
doing it now.
But it only means that
Set
they look
back
very
up
similar
to
the
our
ones
level here.
we know they do.
In
What
which
else did you find?
case,
Should we be particularly concerned about anything?
One thing that we did
adjust
find
this.
is
It's not going to come back to that
our
neutral
neural
support
network
just
was
yet.
able to go and identify a handful of asteroids which weren't considered potentially hazardous, that when we went and integrated them forward in time, they came quite close to Earth.
We find a handful which were not detected before or not considered being dangerous before, and we think
30, ranging, see, can't break that neutral resistance. So as I told you, the blue line, the pivot on our axe trading system is important because it gets respected quite a lot. It's a real good zone. You can see, look, US-30 spiked up, came back down again, ranged. So just we'll want to wait for a proper break here.
And then Simon had the ingenious idea.
NAS dropping along my line again, hitting that neutral support. It gets to here and pops up. Guess what? We can take a sell. We can take a buy now. Go for a buy from here back up to here. Look, 340 points. If we get the bounce off the neutral, it breaks here. We can take a sell down to our baseline. So we just wait.
Forwards in time, calculating their orbits, and then see what fraction sort of gets close to Earth. Not even hitting Earth, but getting close to Earth. And that they call it a potential impactor. So you calculate the solar system forwards in time for, let's say, 1,000 years. And then you launch asteroids from the surface as if they, if you go forwards in time, would fall on the surface. You calculate them backwards to today.
That's 47, 46.
Of today's asteroids, which you know will land on the planet. And those you can use as known impactors and compare with all the other asteroids in the solar system.
Got 1 minute to go on this candle, so it finishes below our neutral look.
Telescopes and other imaging tools can't.
Absolutely. Since the observations get more complex, the physics gets more complex. And if the physics get more complex, the mathematics becomes more complex. And at some point, you can't solve your problems analytically anymore. And then this is where the computer comes in. Now we have this trained neural network.
That's it.
Way of calculating calculating in a fraction.
Kind of no trades at the moment. Like I say, I was looking to take more buyers on NAS, but it looks like it's going to be a sell. It breaks below here. Again, just got to wait. US-30, USA stuck in a range. We're looking for a second leg there. And on gold, we're waiting for either a break above our extension to go 1810, or we're looking for it to pull back to move this TP up now. I'm thinking kind of 1807 zone here. So that's what I'll be thinking if we're looking for a sell. Yeah, it depends on the RSI. If the RSI breaks above this 68 level, then you can see here, look, it touched it here, touched it there, touched it here. Look, you put a line across on the last 3 peaks of the RSI. Key levels. It becomes overstretched, so it's either going to do it this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and break, or it's going to curve down and we're going to get a sell. So I see that, or you can just see there, look, just stick that line across there, look. Love looking at these kind of TAs and RSI. Okay. That's the level, and you can take buys into this zone here, because same time the RSI gets above here, price action should also break above some of these resistance zones. If it backs off from it, then obviously you're looking to take a sell and you're coming down.
I'm eyeing 1805 as a take profit on that one, because it's well respected, that area right there as of today.
Yeah, you can see, look, it's backing off 66.
White color and painting the other side dark, and then letting the pressure of light sort of perturb its orbit.
In a departure from the lab and computer simulations, NASA has real plans to rehearse kinetic impact deflection. In 2021, the agency will launch DART, a double asteroid redirection test mission, which will intercept a 160-meter asteroid in 2022. Better to practice now before we have to deal with an actual threat. In the meantime, discovering asteroids is our best bet. Thousands of scientists and amateur astronomers around the world make up an informal network that survey the heavens. But that may not be enough. NASA wants more resources to map our solar system and better technology.
We need to ramp up our network of sensors, and also we need to just continue to strengthen our network of international observers so that we can get follow-up, because we find these objects when they're distributed all over the night sky.
Once we get more observations, we get better data, we can make better predictions.
If you look at the big impactors we have had in the last, let's say, 20 years, or maybe 30 years, 50 years, most of them we haven't seen coming. So the real danger, I think, comes from the objects we don't know about, and not from the objects we do know about.
This particular natural disaster.
Yes, look at that, could have got a sell in on there. Just, they say, just not breaking that level at 65.
So the thing that we risk collectively is that it sort of then becomes nobody's problem, and nobody takes ownership over it. The asteroids.
We'll be out of it, like I say, we're 1 hour after the open, and that's it. The Fed speech is kind of like dried everything up at the moment, so we'll be back to do the API crude oil at 9:30 UK time, which is what, 4:30, 4:30
US time.
What time is that, NY?
4:30.
Okay, yeah, we'll be back then.
Perfect.
Because nothing is happening, like I say, it's all a bit dead at the moment, so we're just waiting. So we're just in a holding position for all these trades. Look, NAS, like I say, there you go, it's retesting. It will be coming down a little bit more. It's bounced off our KG, off our RSI line, the baseline, like you see, and bounced back up again. So,
oh, my gold sell that I've been holding is in profit.
Excellent. See that?
Come on down. Yeah. We still got a good 30-45 minutes of good movement before we get into range time. So I'm eyeing 1805, 1804.
Yeah.
Before we get a bounce. And we got medium. We got the housing market index in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then 3-year note auctions. So yeah, we still got a good little movement.
I get on up and then $15,000. Here's a stock that can change your life.
I see a stock going up and I buy it and I just watch it until it stops going up and then I sell it.
I have gained over $3 million.
I want some free money.
I don't think you can overstate the online communities or social media's influence on financial markets.
A large group of inexperienced investors who discuss their plans on social media platform Reddit have shaken up the stock market in a big way.
The stock that everybody's talking about right now is GameStop.
Video game retailer GameStop is set to continue their head-spinning ascent today.
The revolutionaries on Reddit are spanking Wall Street's ass.
The more these stocks go up, the more the big guys are getting creamed and losing billions of dollars.
This isn't a wealthy person's game anymore. Anyone can play it.
I took up a little bit of a new hobby and I am interested in day trading.
As an investor nowadays, you don't have to look a specific way. You don't
There we go. Come on down.
You don't have to be doing it from a trading floor on Wall Street in like a high-rise building in downtown Manhattan.
The narrative of what's driving the markets is no longer being held.
Yep, there you go.
In secret offices in New York.
Hit the TP. That's set. Look at that.
People talking to other privileged people.
Beautiful.
Right out in the open. It's on Twitter.
At the same time, Naz is dropping. It's going to come back to our trend line. Look, bounce off our trend lines are going to break here, so we're in for a sell from here to here before this pullback. This is what I'm thinking still. Back to there.
Investing should be as ubiquitous.
We will watch this. I'm going to get in on this. I want to wait for the buy. Wait for the second leg on Naz. Get some more buys again.
How he wants his app to disrupt the world of stock trading, like Amazon disrupted the world of home shopping.
And I think that speaks to exactly the mission that a platform like Robinhood has, which is to democratize investing.
Robinhood was started in 2013.
Excellent.
As soon as I clear this cell, I'm done for the day.
Yep, I'm done. I'm holding on to my thou and that's it. And I will, like I said, I'll come back. We'll do the oil in a bit. It's going to be great. We'll come back and do the oil. It should be good.
Shoot me a message beforehand. I'll set an alarm for 4 o'clock. That way I remember. But holler at me. We'll see what's going on.
Yeah.
As always, great scalping with you, brother.
And for you, and thanks to everyone who's been watching, who will watch in the future. And yeah, go to the website www.mohawkforex.com if you want to learn how to scalp with us and join our Discord group and everything. All the information's on there or in the stream information below on YouTube. And we'll be back tomorrow for another live stream, and tomorrow we're going to be a bit more busier. As like I say, we've got lots of inflation news. The CPI is the main one. The core inflation rate is the big news now, and then we've got the crude oil again, the EIA to trade as well. So tomorrow, fairly big news day. We've got some euro news in the morning. We'll trade that in the group, and then we'll be live in the afternoon. So until tomorrow, trade safe all, keep watching the charts and stay safe, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.
Cheers.